The final page of your entire research paper will be your Works Cited page, and that is where you list all the detailed information about the various sources that you have referred to all throughout your paper, in the body paragraphs in the intro, when you use the parenthetical citations and acknowledgement phrases. We need to be able to sort of cross-reference those in-text citations with the Works Cited page at the end. I am on a website here. If we look, it's called Lumen Learning. But anyhow, they give you a quick little breakdown of the basic things you need to keep in mind when you are formatting your Works Cited page, please. In MLA style, which is what I'm asking you to use for this class, just as in the rest of your paper, they would ask, we ask that the top of the page of your Works Cited has the header with your last name and the page number that you would have used throughout your entire essay. To be super honest, if technology hurts you, and it hurts you a lot, the page numbering is one of the last things you should worry about. I am more worried about content thinking and writing, proper citation of sources over you spending 3 hours trying to figure out how to get your last name and the page number. So if pagination ain't your jam, we can live with it. But I'm assuming that most of you are tech savvy enough to get page numbers. Okay, so you will have a header, hopefully. Definitely you should have the words Works Cited, centered, not italicized, not bolded, not underlined, just the words Works Cited. And it's not work cited, it's works, because you have cited multiple works throughout your paper, so it's plural. And you would capitalize the W for works and capitalize the C on cited, please. Spacing, like the rest of your paper, the Works Cited page should be double spaced, and you should have 1-inch margins. So by double spaced, it doesn't mean that each entry is single spaced and between the entries it's double spaced. I know that's kind of what it seems like, but actually the entire Works Cited page should be uniformly double spaced. So the entries on the page should be double spaced, and you should have just double spacing in between each entry, okay? All of the various sources that you list on your Works Cited page should be alphabetized. So starting with, usually your entries will start with the last name of the author. So you would look at that. But in some cases, when there is no author's name given, you then would start the entry with an article title in quotation marks, and you would do the alphabetizing either by the first letter of the author's last name or by the first letter of the article title. The next thing here is the funky part, and this will, I mean, if page numbering's hard for you, I tell you what, a hanging indent might make your brain just go. Hanging indent is a thing basically that means when you have an entry for a source, typey type type, typey type type, and you get to the end of the line, every line after the first one for a source entry, so the second, sometimes third, occasionally fourth lines, need to be indented, 1 tab space. So the first line is actually flush with the usual left-hand margin, but the lines that come after the first line need to be indented. It gets really wonky if you try to do this sort of manually by like, I'm gonna hit enter and I'm gonna hit the tab key, or I'm gonna hit the space bar 5 times. It ends up getting really thrown off and weird looking. I can tell you that in Word and in whatever word processing program you use, there is a command for hanging indent. So you can actually highlight the entire entry, and then you can go find the command for hanging indent. I know in Word, I'm kind of making this up here, but at the top, if you click on the paragraph thing where you can do spacing, you know, single, double, multiple, whatever, there also is, I think, a spacing choice that's special, and from the drop down, you can choose hanging indent. Alternately, you could just use the help section of Word or your friend called Google, and you could just, where do I find the command for hanging indent? So you want to make sure that you figure that out, and it will make your page look so beautiful. All right, I'm going to scroll a little bit here, so take your anti-nausea pills. All right, here's an example that they give to you. We've got the student's last name is Freeman. We're on page 8 of the paper, and we see Works Cited, not Works Cited, incidentally, centered here at the top. And then notice the alphabetization. We have Buchanan B, Kuntz C, D, developments, H for Hymenowitz, M for Marcotti. So we do it that way. And in the cases where there is an author, you can see that the author's last name, comma, first name, period, last name, comma, first name, period, and so on. In this one right here, we can tell that there is no author's name given. So it begins with the article title. Notice that there are quotation marks around that. Now, the rest of all of this, I mean, there are certain sort of general guidelines. You know, we have the author's name, we have the name of the article, we have where it was published, the name of the publication, who published it, we have the date here. MLA does its dates kind of interestingly too, like the number coming first and with abbreviating most month titles. And so all of it, so it gets a little bit, well, my favorite word is persnickety. It gets a little persnickety, MLA format does. They can make you crazy. And while I am able to retain in this old sad colander of a brain, I am able to retain some of the basics. The honest truth is, if I am putting together a works cited page, I either have a book next to me with the rules and examples, or I'm looking it up online. Because it's really hard to know, like, okay, so if it's an academic journal, I cite the volume number. Do I not? What if it's just an online blog post? How do I cite that? Oh, I have a film. How do I cite that? You know, so each different type of source has different information that is required in the entry. Your easiest thing of all would be to use a citation generator. There's Citation Machine, there's EasyBib. Those are my go-tos, but there are others. Let me see if I can toggle here. All right, to this tab. Here's EasyBib. When you go to easybib.com, you can choose the citation style you're using. So you would choose MLA. You also notice that they have all sorts of resources and helpful things for you. And when you choose your citation generator, you would choose MLA 8. The really great thing is you also here can like choose what kind of source are you looking for. So then you can, let's say if it's something you found online, you can copy and paste the URL right into this bar right here and do a search. And it does a pretty good job of finding online sources for you. And it creates the citation, and you can copy it and paste it into your own works cited page. So you let the citation generator take care of the headachy stuff, like where's the period go? Do I need to include a DOI for this? How do I type the month? Where does the, you just use a citation generator, and then you just copy and paste from the citation generator right into your document. You are rocking, rolling, you are impressing, you're a teacher, and you have a new life skill. Okay, we're gonna go back to the example here. And I just want to point out a few things, that no matter what type of source it is, when you copy and paste it in from the citation generator, it's probably not going to give you the hanging indent. It's probably not going to do the double spacing that you need it to. So you still need to eyeball the thing. And also, one thing it might not do is put a period at the end. So please notice at the end of each citation, it closes with a period, okay? And it might not, the citation generators I've noticed, sometimes they don't capitalize every major word in a title. So prepositions, for the most part, like among, do not need to be capitalized. Little words, at, doesn't have to be capitalized. But every major word in a title should be capitalized. So when you copy and paste it into your works cited and you're kind of formatting it correctly, do, you know, take a second, look it over. You have to develop some of those skills. And you're going to make sure, too, that you're getting it alphabetized as you put it all together. I do believe within the citation generators, you can compile your entire works cited before you copy and paste the whole thing in as well. I tend to be a little bit of a piecemeal researcher and worker, where I do a little bit at a time. And so whenever I've used them, I pretty much just like, I find the source that I'm using right then, I get the citation generated, I copy and paste it into a document, and then a day or two later when I'm working on the next bit, then I do that. So if you really have your act together, you could compile the entire works cited, I do believe, within the citation generator, copy and paste it, but you know, So that final page of your paper should actually be a separate page too. It shouldn't be a continuation of your final page of text. So it might be your chance to learn how to make a page break in a document. Exciting stuff. Yeah, and if you have any other questions, always just ask me. And more likely than not, if it's really specific, I'm going to have to Google the answer. It is amazing though, everything is online that you need. So if you, anything, MLA 8 is the version that we're using. So Google that specifically and you should be good to go, all right? Also, forgot, two things that probably be helpful for you to know. If you are using the online databases through LSC, which are on the library page, really, I recommend it quite highly. They're going to direct you to valid, academic, legit kinds of sources and not some of the crap that we encounter other places on the internet. But the other nice thing is when you found a source in the databases, most of the time, if you look off on one of the sidebars, used to be the left-hand sidebar, I'm sure they're redesigning all the time, but if you kind of look at the page, there is a little button that says, "Cite it!" exclamation point. And so you can click that, and right there and then it provides your citation for you, and you can copy and paste it right out of the databases, so you don't even have to go to a citation generator. And then the other little helpful little brain moment, took my brain a long time to cop to this, but when you look at the first word of each of these entries, or the first couple of words, few words, those are the words that will be in the parenthetical citations in the body of the paper. So when this research is referred to as you're writing your paper and you're doing your parenthetical citations after the quote or the paraphrase or the summary, what you put inside those parentheses will be the first word. So you would put Buchanan or Kuntz. And in the case of Kuntz, for example, look, we have page numbers. And so you also you'd have Kuntz space and the page number, maybe it's 146, and parentheses, period. In the case of a long title, instead of writing the entire title out, you could just put developments in the law, ... quotation marks, parentheses, the end parentheses. So I can't believe how many years it took before I realized, oh, hey, what I'm putting in those citations in my paper actually corresponds to the first word or words in the Works Cited page. The assumption is that readers might really find a certain factoid or bit of information particularly interesting, and they're like, oh, I want to be able to find that source. And so if you give it to them right there, if you give them Kuntz, they can just scroll right down to your Works Cited and be like, okay, so this is Uncommon Threads, Reading and Writing About Contemporary America. I'm going to find that book. I want to see more about that. So just keep those things in mind as little addenda. Sorry, I forgot when I was talking before.